so this I showed in another video. And basically it's how we're keeping track of everything for the chicken coop. So you can see, so basically plus 20, so we provided a handful more of these. And then we've been working right now on getting the 1x6s done. Right now we've been doing everything 13 foot, so we've been working on knocking those out. This is kind of what we've delivered up to this point, just kind of as a tracking to show what we've gotten out there. Had some modifications as we went, so even though we provided quite a bit additional on um, the linear feet for the 2x4s, he needs 30 more boards that are at least, I think, 16 foot long. That'll be to do the purlins on the top. He didn't figure that into his initial calculation. The purlins that we did before were, I guess, the ones that would go kind of on the outside, and then he's going to do the 1x6s this way. So that's kind of where that number came from. So we have to do that still. So we'll get that out of these 4 logs that we just brought. And then the other thing I've been starting to track, which I don't think I have 100% correct, but I'm within a log or two, is the number of logs. So we're building, or they're building this chicken coop, and trying to, we've done all the cutting for it. I think I've mentioned it, with the exception of some of the stuff that's going to be in contact with the ground or the concrete that he poured. So right now so we have 14 logs that we've done that have come from 5 trees. So that's kind of where we're at right now. That's including, so 4 of those are those 4 right there. So I've been counting them kind of as we get them here, with the assumption that we're going to utilize all of them. Then can kind of update, if we, let's say we get everything out of these, I can, check off. But I thought it'd be interesting to kind of keep track of that. I have all these videos that are, cutting 2x and 1x depending on, what we're trying to do. And I know a lot of it kind of ends up being the same and everything, but thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of document what all it takes to cut to get this building up. I have a couple of pictures of kind of where the building's at currently, and I can put those in here, and then I'll try to get more pictures as kind of things progress and everything. And the only other thing that isn't going to be used is he did buy rafters with the loft area in the top of them. So they won't use our wood for the truss pieces, but we will end up putting like a floor in for the actual loft piece. So that'll be kind of after that. Isn't figured into any of these calculations. We'll do that afterwards, but that is something that we'll probably end up working on in the future as well. Let's just go through. Now that we've been using the mill for a bit, we've kind of updated some of the stuff that we have out here, so I figured I'd just kind of go through that real quick and kind of show that. So start with, had this bottle jack that we used to raise the end of a tree up, so that if it was the pits higher on one side than the other, we could raise it up and center it across. That worked alright, worked well in a small spot, but it just took a long time, sitting there trying to get that thing lifted up, and then to get it pushed back down, just kind of a pain. So you can see here next to it, we bought a small jack from Harbor Freight. This is just the 1.5 ton one. It's a smaller one, but in the on the LX150 here, it fits between the bed rails really nicely, and with the normal handle to crank it up, you can lift that log right up much quicker, and it's much easier to use. eventually we had talked about using or coming up with a different piece here that you could replace and then put like a roller on it, almost kind of like the roller that's on the front for this wheel, so that you could pick it up and then if you need to shift a log one way or the other, because occasionally you'll have where like a knot hits a bed rail and kind of causes it to be, you know, uneven where it doesn't necessarily need to be. You can pick it up a little bit and then slide it. So that's one thing that we've added here really recently, and has been a big help. The bottle jack worked, but this was pretty inexpensive. Had it at Harbor Freight, got a deal on it. So so it's been a lot nicer to use. Going across, so we've had the snow shovel we've been using for a while. It works really well for getting all the dust that is put here and just getting it into the corner. We have some bags, and we've been putting some of the sawdust in bags, taking it over to the 100 acres and putting it in an area where we stole all the topsoil. I'm just kind of thinking getting some of that, you know, sawdust, organics back into the soil over time. So been doing that, and then other stuff we just kind of been putting in the woods here. With all of the sawing that we've been doing, we've just been accumulating so much that you've seen a couple times we've used the 62 bucket to just take stuff into the woods and dump it. We're just accumulating so much that we've had to do that with it. We have a couple people who have utilized it in the past, but here recently it's been super dry. We haven't gotten any amount of rain in a good while now, and like people were using it to kind of like put it in areas where it was muddy. That hasn't been an issue, so people haven't been utilizing it for that um, here recently. Okay, continuing across. So another cant hook. We added some magnets to the outside here, and put the cant hooks out here, the two big ones. Just because instead of having to cross the log every time to get them off that wall, we're always using them over here and turning. So just put them on this wall so we're not having to walk back and forth. Just kind of a convenience thing. But we do have storage for them back here. We're not going to be using it a whole lot, just kind of keep them out of the weather. And we have that smaller one. Have just a meter stick here. Been using it for measuring the pit, just because it's a nice sturdy thing you can set on the ground and measure the pit on. And like since we have the floor and it's level enough, at least for anything that we're doing, that we just measure to the floor and get the pit that way. Okay, so a couple scrapers. We got this scraper here. Keep a little bit of garage door lube for the pieces here that spin on the clamps. So these pieces here, they kind of, with the sawdust buildup and everything, they can kind of get a little stiff. So just have a little bit of lube out here for that. Pair of leather gloves. Those are actually welding gloves, but we had an extra set. And leave those out here for changing blades. This is actually ATF fluid. So that is what Woodmizer recommends wiping down the bed rails with. So they want you to oil them and everything, and I think the chains maybe as well that lift it up and down. And the reason I guess you use ATF, because I was curious why you use it over another oil, is I guess it won't collect the dust the same, where it leaves kind of that oily film, where obviously a very dusty environment, it doesn't let the dust collect on it quite the same, and actually cause more issues than not oiling it. So I have some ATF out here, small cant hook, and then just zip ties for putting the blades together whenever we're done with one, some bug spray, cant hook, or cant hook, hookaroon, Always have a measuring tape out here, a couple of wrenches that correspond to the things down there, hammer, and then those are actually part of the mill. So there's stops that got bolted on the mill here, and the idea is that you actually cam those up to lock in place on that little black piece there. And I guess that's if you're ever transporting it, where this is a mill that's meant to be kind of attached to something, so I'm not 100% sure transporting it, but that's what those are for, is to lock it in place. And I guess, I don't know, this thing's so heavy to move, it's not going to just take off like in a strong wind, so I'm not 100% sure, but that's what those are for. And then we did install a fan, just to keep some air moving. It's tied to the switch up there to turn on the lights and the fan. And then we've gone to, I showed it in another video, but we've gone to using these 20-inch like just scrapers. So basically it's for like putty, use on drywall, stuff like that. Works perfect for scraping. You can do it in one pass, do a quick run down, and you're done. This one we actually took and put some numbers on it. So just for a quick reference, so that we knew kind of what size we're looking at. So starting at the end is 0, then 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and just a quick reference to see kind of where we're at. A lot of what we've been doing the 1x6s or 2x6s. So we want to get at least a 12-inch cant, so we can cut that in half and have 2 sets whenever we do it. So, and we just put a magnet up there so that you can stick it up there. And just kind of other sorted things. Another small magnet up here, just whether you're using the jack, you can to use it, you have to take the handle piece off there. It just has a little thumb screw at the bottom. Then it comes right out. We'll store it up there while we're not using it. So just kind of what we've added to our collection of kind of things to either speed up the process, make things more convenient, and things like that. And then I'll go ahead and do another thing on the solenoid here. So again, if you haven't watched all the videos, the solenoid is wired into the box here. We ended up using, I think it was this not used one over here, and whatever this one's not used for on a LX150 is tied to the forward direction on the motion control. So essentially now what you have to do is, as long as you have your water set, anytime you push this forward to move forward, it starts and opens up this valve so that water will come out and lubricate the blade and cool it. One of those things that wasn't very difficult to do, basically since the relay is already in there and is providing the power, we just had to hook that up one side to the relay and then hooked it to the grounds that are in the box, and now you don't even have to think about it. Again, as I explained, it wasn't a huge deal. We had moved everything so that there was a valve right here. So whenever you push this down and engage, you'd make sure that you'd turn this on so you had water flow, and whenever you turned it off, you just reach down here and turn it off. Now again, if you're looking at it and you're sawing and you're watching your guide blade to make sure you don't make contact if you have a tree that isn't perfectly straight, and then you're also controlling your debarker over there. As you're doing all of that and you get to the end of a board, your thought is, okay, just turn around, grab that board and either put it on the tractor whenever we have it set up over there, or set it over here to be dealt with later, or if it's a finished board. So you're kind of doing that. So you may let the water run, so then the water is just dripping, which then means you have to fill this up more often. and you know the mess isn't really that big a deal. It's just water and some pine saw, so that part's not bad. But you then have kind of that puddle there, and you're having to change the water a lot more. So with this method, as soon as you get to the end and you click this back to neutral position, it's shut off. So you can see the brand here is US Solids. Honestly, just found it on Amazon. Found the size that worked with um, the hose fittings that we had. So like I think it's a 1/2 inch um, male pipe thread or female pipe thread that we threaded a male piece in with the barb fitting on there that hooked up to our hose. So just have a short hose going from here around, and then shortened up our hose so it went down in between the guard and the engine, and then comes down over here and then goes in. So we just made sure that we had enough hose so that whenever you went all the way over, you had enough, and then whenever you came this way, that you know it kind of curled in a way that wasn't in the way. Other thing you notice that we did, so because we mounted this on the piece that holds the water container, we just mounted it in the bottom since there's all these holes in the side. Um, Basically just took some scrap pieces of wood we had and built a little thing so that this would sit up, so that you had a little bit more fall from basically this piece down into the valve and then down. This valve works at 0 psi, but you need gravity to work for you here, and with it mounted down here, you're going to have 0 fall. So this little bit here gives you the fall needed. And then I just put this little lip on here so that if you're coming back and you hit your bumpers right there, and you know the whole thing kind of comes back, get a little overzealous coming backwards, that stops that from just coming right down and falling and hitting stuff. So that's all the little angle piece is doing. Just screwed those together, and you can see we have a little leak in one of these fittings here. That's why this is wet, but it's not anything too bad. It'd be nice to get like a different fitting, or we may need to take this apart and put more pipe thread or something on this, or some more thread tape on this to help seal it. But this is one of those things, super cheap, easy to do. I'll kind of get in here closer. So basically what we did was we just took a piece of metal and bent it into a U, drilled 2 holes in it so we can mount it. So that's what those 2 lock nuts are. And then what we did to secure it in here is, so if you're working electrical and you're in like a breaker box, you take like a greenley and you cut out a hole, and then you put in a fitting into the box, and then you put this on the back side to tighten it up. That's all this is here. So we have a hole that we cut in the piece of metal here that the pipe thread, the threads of the nipple here would fit into, the barb fitting. So we drilled that hole there, and then had this on the back side, which is the same thread as this. So we did that on both sides, and basically we just tightened these up so that it kind of pinched this whole solenoid in this metal, and that seemed to work really well. It hasn't loosened up at all. You can see basically we just have it set so that it's off the guide here. And then looking at it from this side, just has a couple of wires coming out of it that we put the this protective cover on it, and then put a little bit of tape on. And then if you watch the video where we actually did this kind of install, we just fed it into this line here and got it in through this connection, and just had one little splice there that we then covered up with tape so we didn't have anything getting in there. So it's really an easy install, simple thing to do. Since everything was already in here, to do it whenever you went forward. We didn't have to figure out any kind of workaround or figuring, tying into the rotor switch I have over here. Didn't have to figure any of that out. It was already over there, so able to do that. And by using that relay, obviously I already got a 15 amp fuse on it. So if something was short, something would happen, it would just um, you know hit that fuse there, and we could reset it. What we want to do that is actually something I'm stealing from Facebook. So the Woodmizer Facebook group, someone had done this, and I thought it was a really good idea. But you can see that you get a lot of buildup on the belts here. So this is the belt that is actually, the blade rides on. So you have your drive belt here that drives this back one, and then the two are connected. So you have your belt that the blade rides on here. Well, if you have a lot of buildup on this, it can cause some wavy cuts and can cause other issues. So we have a couple of nylon brushes in here, and anytime before we start going, we'll clean these off. If we change the blade, we'll clean these off. So it's one of those things you have to just kind of keep an eye on, remember to do. So I saw someone basically took and mounted a nylon brush here so that whenever this spun, it would just automatically clean this off, and thought that was a good idea. So I'm gonna look at putting one here, and then you can put one kind of on this piece here where the belt comes down, but you don't have any blade in the way. But I thought that would be a simple thing we could add on that would always keep these clean, so you didn't have this being an issue of this buildup causing potential waviness or any additional issues there. So another thing we want to do, just haven't gotten to, but thought that would be an easy thing to keep this clean and have one less issue to worry about when sawing, just because there's lots of things, the blade tension, the sharpness of the blade, and then the different thicknesses and widths that you can run on the LX150 obviously can greatly affect, along with the degree, can greatly affect the quality of cut, definitely if it's the type of wood it is and everything. So one less thing you have to worry about, keeping an eye on is always a good thing. So we'll look at adding that here in the future.